that we can post it on the website tomorrow. Okay, this meeting will be live streamed. It won't be live streamed, it's going to be streamed on Teams, and a recording made available to view via the council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images, audio of those individuals speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the council's website. Okay, members. On to agenda item 1, to receive any apologies. Mark, can you take a roll call, please?
Yes, I will, Chair. And we've had apologies from Councillor Bishop, Councillor Ingram-Jones, Councillor Price, Councillor Reid, Councillor Carl Thomas, Councillor Whitcomb, and also Councillor Whittle. Thank you, Chair. I'll just do a roll call now. Councillor Adams.
Present.
Councillor Aldworth.
Here, you can see you.
Councillor Broughton Pettit.
Present.
Jack on Dawson.
Sorry, I had the mind off. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Cass.
Present.
Councillor Enright.
Present.
Councillor Farina Childs.
Present.
Councillor Gare.
Present.
Councillor Gordon.
Present.
Councillor James. Councillor Johnson.
Present.
Councillor Mann.
I'm
Councillor McConnell.
Present.
Councillor Miles.
Present.
Councillor Parry.
Emma. Present.
Councillor Phipps.
Present.
Powell. Councillor Rayo. Councillor Roberts.
Emma.
Councillor Taylor.
Emma.
Councillor Winslade.
Present.
Councillor Woodland.
Present.
Last but not least, Councillor Wright.
Present.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, item 2, declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of the personal responsibility to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on this agenda, according with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution, and the Code of Conduct for both officers and councillors. Are there any declarations? Councillor Mann, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I declare an interest, I believe it's a personal interest as a governor of the school. And could I also do a provisional apology, Chair, unless this meeting is very quick, I will have to leave before the end for another commitment. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, do you want the... Well, do you want to do each one or do it separate?
I've spoken to Councillor Mann before the meeting, Chair, and the declaration is personal only. Councillor Mann is a governor. He's an LEA appointed governor at one of the schools, so his interest is personal only, meaning that he can take a full part in the debate.
Thank you. Councillor Phillips?
Did you say Councillor Phipps?
Yeah, I did. Sorry, Lisa.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to declare a personal interest as my sister works at the Gwynty site, and I have a niece that attends the school also.
I didn't catch the second part of that, Councillor Phipps, sorry. Did you say your niece attends the school?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, okay. So once more, I think those are personal interests only. And again, take a full part in the meeting and vote.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Wright?
Thank you, Chair. I consulted with Mr. Tranter. I think my interest is a personal one. Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yes, we can hear you.
That's quite right. Your recollection is right, Councillor Wright.
Yeah.
It
So,
is, it is a personal interest only.
yeah, because my son is a pupil at the Guthrie Half site, so that's Gymraeg Cymru.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Councillor Parry?
I have a personal interest.
There's an awful echo
Granddaughter.
going on. I don't know where it's coming from. I have to turn my speakers off. I don't get the echo, but I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear
We can
you.
hear you, Councillor Wright.
We can hear you, Kerry.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Parry.
I have a personal interest. I have a personal interest. My granddaughter attends school governing Cymru.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Parry. We've made a note of that. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Roberts?
Diolch, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Same thing goes for me, really. Personal interest. I have grandchildren at Cymru, more than one, and I'm going to persevere with the meeting for as long as I can. But if this echo continues, I'm one of these people who'll have to leave. Not making a point, just telling you, I've got trouble with my ears. I'll be here for as long as I can, but if it carries on, I'm off. Thank you.
Chair, if I can, I've reset the audio to the main MTR, which should reduce the echoing.
Thank you, Emma.
Okay, so hopefully it'll start getting a bit better, members. Unfortunately, just with the chamber going off as part of night today. Okay, there's no other thing. We go on to agenda item 3, proposed voluntary termination of the Caerphilly CBC school PFI contract. Cabinet Member for Finance and Performance, Councillor Ellen Turner, please.
Thank you, Chair. At this joint scrutiny meeting this evening, we have relevant officers with us this evening who will be able to assist members with any queries they may have. We also have Mike Reid from Local Partnerships in attendance. This report provides details of a proposal to voluntarily terminate the Caerphilly County Borough Council school PFI contract and to seek the endorsement of this joint committee of the proposal prior to Cabinet and full Council consideration. Welsh Government has requested that all Welsh local authorities with PFI contracts review them to assess whether they continue to offer value for money. As you are all aware, this council have sought to achieve savings from the school's PFI to ensure value for money and to minimise affordability implications. This authority has considered all options, including increasing the contract management, reviewing the services provided to identify and implement savings, also using mechanisms in the contract such as benchmarking to reduce costs. As the report demonstrates, despite the funding support from Welsh Government, there continues to be a significant affordability gap between the council's normal school funding level and the payments made to the contractor. Business case has been prepared, setting out details to voluntarily terminate the school's PFI contract. The recommendation is shown at 3.1 of the report that this joint scrutiny consider the content of the report to support the voluntary termination proposal. Councillor Andrews, Cabinet Member for Education, is also here this evening, and I will hand over to her for any further details that she may wish to add. Thank you.
Councillor Andrews, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Steiner. It is important to note that this is purely a contractual matter between the Council and the PFI Consortium on a number of non-educational services, which include building maintenance, kitchen and grounds maintenance, and would have no impact on pupils or teaching staff at either school. None of the options outlined in the report are not likely to negatively impact pupil attainment. If the Council ultimately decides to support this decision, it will bring clarity in the way Caerphilly schools are funded and operated by the local authority. Ensure a fairer approach to funding across all of our buildings, and the Council can also generate a significant annual savings through the early termination of the PFI contract. And I'd like to reassure both school communities that we will keep them informed and updated throughout this process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, we have a few questions that come up at the pre-meeting, so we'll go through them first, members, before we go to any other questions. Councillor Deputy.
My question is, if you do decide to terminate the PFI contract, which will be your preferred way of providing the maintenance and services? Would it be by outsourcing or by using council staff?
Doris.
Yeah, that will actually be for the school to determine. It'll be their choice which services they procure moving forward. They can seek to stay with existing providers on a different, on a new contract. They could go to other external providers, or indeed they can procure the in-house services that the council can offer. As I said, that's a matter for the schools, but of course, whatever decision they make, we will do what we can to support the schools.
Sue's coming out, sorry.
Just to add to what Steve said, Chair, that was a decision that other schools in Caerphilly make. So, you know, every other school in Caerphilly needs to look at those decisions around the provision of those services at the moment.
Do I come back in?
No, thank you.
No problem. Okay, Councillor Parry.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. We, as you said, we've had a meeting, haven't got any questions other than, as I said in a pre-meeting that we both shared with the officers, that if we were to go down the avenue of closing down this contract, then I would like to have any of the monies saved going into education, or at least the bulk of the money going into education.
So before I go to the next one, I'm going to ask Steve, we had a discussion on Friday with me and Teresa. Can you give us like what's going to happen after tonight's meeting and where we go? You know, just so members are aware of what the process is going to be following this.
Yeah, that's fine. If we get to the point where council agrees that we do the voluntary termination, there'll be a process to work through then, obviously, to agree the compensation sum. And even though in the report we've given an indication of what the savings may be, obviously that will depend on the final compensation sum that's paid. What we discussed in the meeting we had the other day is that if we do proceed, when we get to the point where the termination is agreed and we've paid compensation sum, I suggest that we reconvene this meeting, joint meeting the PNR and education. And what I'll do at that point is update you on the outcome of the termination and what the actual savings are moving forward, and give you a range of options in terms of what we do with those savings. Now, those options could be, of course, we could put more into education. The members will also be aware that we do have a £48 million savings requirement over the next 3 years to consider as well. So another option is that it goes towards that. Or, of course, there's a blended approach where some of the savings could go to the capital programme for schools, and obviously some of it support the NTFP. What we'll do, we will reconvene this meeting. We'll give you a range of options to consider. You can express your views on that then before we take a further report into Cabinet and possibly Council.
So, start, Councillor Enright.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just some background information for me. Obviously, I'm coming at this 11th hour, being a newly elected councillor. I noticed the LLP came in at 2018 and obviously submitted a report. We're 2023 now, which is clearly 5 years in the making. I'm just wondering why it's taken so long to get where we are. Obviously, with the COVID issue, I would have thought ideal situation to try and finalise a contract like this would be around about the 2020 mark. Just a bit of information, really. I've got other questions as well, Chair.
Mr. Cole, did you want the answer there, did you? No?
Oh, well, that's what it's
Who wants to answer it?
I know, yeah. It mentions 2018 that we had the voluntary termination proposal. That was under consideration at that time, but it wasn't until 2018 that we actually commissioned the work with local partnerships to develop the business case for us. A complex matter, it did take some time. We were at a point where we did have the first iteration of the business case prior to the pandemic. I'm afraid that obviously there were other priorities then for both the council and officers to address, with resources being redirected to deal with the pandemic. We did then in 2021 relook at the business case, and we also, the qualitative assessment that had been done, we went back through that process to make sure it was still fit for purpose. But the main delay was obviously down to the pandemic and the fact that other priorities were being dealt with during that period.
You
Thanks,
want to
thanks,
come
Steve.
back on there, Gary?
Yeah, not on that one, Chair. That was just the background I was looking for. Another question I've got, and I mentioned this in the pre-meeting, 5.1.4. If this is too sensitive to respond, then, you know, just take it as a rhetorical question. But I was just wondering, as an organisation, have we looked at the legal entity? Clearly, the original company has folded, changed hands, moved on. It's now a different entity completely. Have we commissioned I don't know, a solicitor or a QC to actually look at the original agreement to see if we can get out of it without paying 2.4 million or 1.3 million or whatever? I'd rather personally pay 50 grand to somebody to look at the original agreement to see if we can legally get out of it rather than paying somebody money.
I'll come in the first instance. I mean, that's the piece of work that local partnerships have done for us. Obviously, all those matters would have been considered. We are looking at the voluntary termination under the terms of the contract. And maybe Mike, perhaps you'd like to come in and just add something on that particular point.
Yeah, I mean, for people's background, as Councillor Enright says, the contract was originally with Ballas Wiltshire, who went into liquidation. They were the company that part owned the project, but also built the schools and ran the various services that are provided. The contract is now owned by a company called Macri, who were actually part owners at the time of the original deal, along with the original bank. Whilst those changes have happened, the terms of the agreement haven't changed. The only way that the contract could be terminated, other than the council voluntarily terminating it, is if the contractor was in default. We haven't identified any sort of ways in which the contractor could be in default. Their performance has been adequate in the sense that there have been no significant deductions made from the payments. So it's I think if the council do make the decision to go and go forward and voluntarily terminate, external legal advice is going to be engaged by the council. We've been working with the council team to make sure the right advice is engaged, including potentially QC, to look at certain aspects that will help to reduce the termination sum. But it's very unlikely that any route other than a voluntary termination would likely to be possible.
Thanks for that, Mike. Appreciate that. Cheers, Chair.
Okay. Okay, there's no Councillor Gear. Next, please.
Thank you. Sorry, I was just going to say that, you know, it seems to make perfect financial sense for the council, but my concern was some of the comments made by Cymru at the appendix, who were unhappy, obviously, with the late information, the lack of consultation, lack of information, and obviously expressing their hope that the local authority will provide full support to ensure that the transition and the new arrangements won't adversely affect pupils.
Hey, do you want to answer that? Oh.
I think from my perspective, we officers, myself, Andrea, and Steve, have met with the school prior to the information being circulated. We met with both PFI schools. I think the timeliness of this information, the business case has been progressing for some time. It's commercially sensitive information. So the detail of that need to be extracted from the report. And that's passed to both head teachers at the time. As for the second question around support, we have offered our assurance as officers, as Steve, as other support services, HR particularly, that we will support both schools throughout this process. This isn't about the school on their own on this. We are with the school supporting throughout. For my personal assurances to both schools.
Come back with that, Councillor Gay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Councillor Chushan Dawson.
Yeah, yes, I've got a couple of questions. If the decision, if they've come to the point where they find out what compensation the company wants to end the contract, and they realise that the compensation is not economically viable, is there a way of reversing that, or would you have to still carry on?
I mean, the contract doesn't come to an end until we officially serve notice that we're terminating. So if we found ourselves in a situation where it wasn't financially viable for the council to do that, we wouldn't serve that notice. So we need to be satisfied before the notices are served that obviously it would be beneficial to the council to proceed with the termination.
And
do you want to come back?
Oh, sorry. No, I want to ask another question, sir.
Well, just on that there question though, if it wasn't terminated, then we still got 9 years is it left? Well, after 9 years it would run out anyway, so we would take back control. Go on then, your next question.
You say that you don't anticipate any significant issues. How do you know, and have you made provision in case there are issues? Have you made plans to fail, in other words, just in case? I meant the issues with the effect on the staff, on the pupils through.
I thought that's what you were referring to. Obviously, HR do have experience in dealing with TP, so we don't anticipate any issues, but clearly, if any issues do present, then we've got expertise to deal with that within the council.
Okay, brilliant. One minute.
You did ask this question.
Oh, I think that's it. Sorry, that's it.
No, that's it.
There was another question, but it's already been answered. Thank you.
Well, we did ask this here on Friday, so we did to Stephen, Sue, and what we got is the same sort of thing because we're concerned about the staff and that. It's not going to affect the teaching side of it, but it's, you know, the canteen staff and all that there. We believe all terms and conditions are better, but not 100% sure. So if they were, then they'd be tripping over. We would trip them over, and you know, then you can have the discussion. I would like to think if their terms and conditions are better than ours, we would bring them until we caught up. But if ours is better than theirs, then we would bring them up right away because everyone on the council should be in the same. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, the points of the governing body have been made adequately, so I'm not going to repeat those. It's sufficient to say they're not particularly happy, and that's putting it mildly. But I think I'd like to support a comment that was made earlier that anything saved from this process stays in education. Again, ideally, I'm sure the governing bodies would want the two schools to benefit from savings. But I think, sorry, somebody else talking. I think at the very least, we should be looking for those savings to stay in the education sectors. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Dawson, you've got your hand up again.
Yeah, sorry. It was just one more question. The school signed a contract at the beginning of the contract, and they got to see that contract. But why are the council not releasing a copy of that contract for the school to see? It can't be sensitive when the schools signed it in the first place. It says it in the reply from the school.
Steve may want to add to this, but sensitive information is in the business case, Steve. That's my understanding. That's the commercially sensitive information.
It is to do with any final settlement. That's the sensitive bit about it. All right, Steve? Yeah.
So the contract is sensitive, even though the school signed it in the first place.
Yeah, because you cannot go out, because like this meeting is shared by tomorrow, so anyone can see. So if we were sitting here discussing a price, what it was, the company could see that there and they could say, well, we know what you're willing to go up to, so we're not going to accept that. We'll go the highest you're willing to offer, we'll take that. So that is the sensitive about it. You cannot discuss payments here.
No, not payments. No, the original contract that they signed, the school have not been allowed to see it for some reason. I'm asking why.
Right. Why have they?
The original contract. It states it in the end. At the end, the school stated they've not been allowed to see the original contract.
Chair, can I suggest we discuss that outside the meeting?
Okay.
Because we need to understand whether there's a strong reason not to release that contract. Obviously, we can take advice from Rob on that, or whether we look at maybe providing a redacted version if there is anything within the contract that's sensitive. But I think we can pick that up outside the meeting as officers.
Okay then.
Oh, do you agree to that?
Yes, I'm not sure, Councillor Shack and Dawson, whether the school actually signed that contract in any event. I'm not sure. I don't know is the answer.
Yes,
but
sure, I signed it.
Yeah. Okay. There are a couple of members of the public here who say that they signed the contract. So yeah, it'll be. We can look at that, as Steve says, outside the meeting.
Just an additional point. We have had a freedom of information request around releasing that contract. Right. And because Macri were party to that contract, we've had to seek their support and they have refused to release that contract.
Councillor Mann, you got your hand up?
Thank you, Chair. To my knowledge, the school was actually part of signing the contract. From recollection, the legal papers were about a foot higher, I believe, but they were certainly there, and they did lots of signing.
It was the two heads and the two chairs of governors that signed the paper.
Sorry, I can't hear that.
No, that's okay. Councillor Enright?
Yeah, Chair, very quick one. Consultation. I noticed we're running at this like a pace of knots in light of the school's comments of meaningful consultation, and clearly that has a bearing. If there's any slippage, have we built in any slippage on time? Because I note it's up to about July, August, and obviously the school's finished then for the summer break. So are we building in any slippage?
Steve?
Yeah, Councillor Enright, it does say in the business case that if the termination slips until the October half term or indeed Christmas, it won't materially affect the figures that are included in the business case. So if it does slip, then obviously, as I say, it shouldn't have a significant impact on the final savings and termination sum.
Great stuff. Thanks, Steve.
If just Gary, it makes sense if you can get it done in July, then you've got the time there to get things in place for September, as you know, so that's what we were told. Okay, members, so I think we all know PFIs were at the time necessary, but very expensive to run as well. So if we can get out of it, all the better. So the recommendation is on page 1 of your packs, 3.1. Members of the Joint Scrutiny Committee are asked to consider the content of the report and to support the proposal to formally terminate the Caerphilly CBC Schools PFI contract prior to Cabinet and Council consideration. Have we got a move in a second? Councillor Adams, I see your hand up.
Yes, it is for that very purpose, Chair, to move the recommendation at 3.1. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Have I got a second there?
Yes.
Councillor Parry?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, please. Okay, we're moved in second. Can we go to the votes? On team, yeah. We'll be coming up now, folks.
Yeah, that's been carried, Chair. We've got 18 votes for, no votes against, and we've got 1 abstention.
Your members, have we finished the recording, please? Thank you, members.